everybody. Today I'm thinking about unanswered prayer. Do you have any unanswered prayer? Do you have some things that you've been taking before God for quite some time, possibly, and you just don't have any answers? You haven't seen the results that you had hoped to have. Maybe you're a little bit discouraged. Well, we've all had that. And I've been thinking about that lately about some situations that I desire and others I know that are seeking, that have talked to me about some unanswered prayers. So we're going to go over that today. And I hope that you're blessed and encouraged by your unanswered prayer, because God can still answer, but maybe it's just not his time. So when you're in that stage of waiting on God, it's not easy. And we know waiting is necessary, but sometimes we get panicky. We need a job. You're almost out of money. What are you going to do? And God has not opened doors. Or maybe you're exhausted from a physical situation that just keeps lingering on, and you don't know what else to do about it to get relief. You can't keep up with the demands of a job. They're pushing you, pressuring you. What are you going to do? You have got to the end of your rope. Well, why can't I move on in life? Some people say, I've been at this situation. I talked to one of my guys. He's like, it's been taking me 6 years to get this degree between the pandemic and now the school. The teachers are on strike because the government that he's in are not making the demands of the teachers, and they're not unreasonable from what I understand. But why aren't these things going together? And so that's frustrating. Okay, so we have corporations that are killing people, pushing them, making them try to meet up to demands that are just humanly impossible. So I get a lot of these stories and a lot of prayers that they feel, why God, why haven't you done this? I've been in these situations so many times in my life too, where I cry out and there seems to be no answer. You just push on, or you become depressed and you feel like you can't take another day. You don't know how to face another day of the same situation. You're at your very lowest. And if you're not now, you may be at one time in your life where you're so low, nobody can help you out. You can't climb out. Only God can help you out. And then you're thinking, well, why, God? Why haven't you answered me? Why aren't you helping me out of this pit? Well, sometimes he wants us to stay there for a little bit. Sometimes we aren't ready to come up out of it. So I always try to remember this quote: trials are not enemies of faith, but opportunities to prove God's faithfulness. And so we have to remember that his ways are not our ways. His thoughts are not our thoughts, and his time is not our time. So some trials may last weeks, some may last months, but others last years. I've had one in my life that has lasted for years. And to be honest with you, I'm tired of it. I want it to be over. But for some reason, God has not allowed that to happen. For some reason, he has not seen fit to release me from this situation that is trying me, that I have done everything I can do, only he can do. So I say, okay, Jesus, you know what's best for me. Help me to lean on. So these are some things that God gave me today to share with you, that during your trial of waiting your unanswered prayer, things to consider. Okay, so stop with me and consider these points. While you're waiting, number one, do all you can do by getting into the word and Bible study. Get as close to God as you can during this time. Number two, help someone else in their trial. There's just something about getting your mind off yourself and reaching out to others to help them that really does lift you up. So what can you do to help them? Okay, maybe you can advertise their products if they're selling a product. You can encourage them somehow. Maybe you can cook a meal for them. Maybe you can just offer to help babysit or run an errand for them. Maybe they just need a listening ear, a supporter, while they're going through this trial. Nobody else can help them, but they have to make that decision. So God has called me right now in this waiting time of my life to lift up others, to encourage others. And that's why one of the reasons why I'm doing this devotional is because he has called me to do that, to reach others. I've been there where I've needed it, and I still need it. And God sends me what I need through what I'm doing for others. So it's amazing what he will do if we lift him up in prayer and we lift up others in prayer, how he meets our needs. I've seen it so many times, and I'm just so thankful. As we do these things, we often gain the encouragement that we need. We have doors of opportunity opened, and it's beautiful. So if you're not that kind of a person, I encourage you to be that kind of person. Reach out to somebody else. Think about somebody else. Get outside of your box. Don't be so self-centered. Number three, we must keep reminding ourselves that God's timing is best. And I want to read my favorite passage, one of my favorite passages. To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. And this has helped me so many times when I haven't got my answered prayers. There's a time to be born. So those of you that may be waiting for a baby to come into your life, there's a time for that, and you have to wait on God. There's a time to die. Some people are sad and sick and they want to go on to be with God, but he hasn't released them yet. So we know there is a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep. Sometimes we just want to cry, and that's what we need to do. Just get it out. A time to laugh. There's a time for laughter. A time to mourn and a time to dance. Mourning takes a while, and it's a while before you feel like you can get through the death of a loved one. And that's okay, because he gives us that time. A time to dance, to be happy, to get out there and do what you can do to help others. A time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones up. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to get and a time to lose. A time to keep and a time to cast away. Some things we don't need to hold on to, we need to get rid of it. A time to rend and a time to sew. We have to tear out parts that aren't right in a garment sometimes, and there's a time to sew them up. A time to keep silence. We need to be quiet and wait on God. A time to speak up, to let others know that God is there and that he cares for us. A time to love and a time to hate. We hate the things that are unlike God, but we love those that are not doing right. A time of war and a time of peace. What profit hath he that worketh in that wherein he laboreth? I have seen the travail which God hath given to the sons of men to be exercised in it. He hath made everything beautiful in his time. Everything that we give to him, everything that we allow him to help us with. In his time also he has set the world in their hearts, so that no man can find out the work that God maketh from the beginning to the end. So we don't know his plan, but we know that his timing is perfect. So I keep telling myself that, okay, God, your timing is perfect. And I'm sure you are like me. You can look back over a situation and you can see the mighty hand of God, that he led you step by step. And even though you had to wait from one step to the next, maybe it wasn't at the pace that you wanted. But when you look back, you say, oh, wow, God, I was at the right place at the right time for just what I needed. So that gives me the grace, that gives me the courage to hold on now when I feel like I can't go any further. So number 4, become better and not bitter. The enemy wants us to feel that God doesn't love us, that he has forgotten us, that he doesn't really care about us, or that he doesn't want to answer our prayers. So we know that's his business. He does it to a lot of people. We hear that story over and over. We know that he's doing it to our loved ones. He's doing it to us, and we have to come back against him. We have to say that God is with me. He is for me, and he's going to work all these things for my good. So during this time, excuse me, we need to work on developing ourselves in the things of God, and getting ready for that next step in our life. I tell the young ladies that are waiting on God for a husband, prepare yourself for marriage. Learn how to cook, learn how to sew, learn all that you can about a man. Make yourself, your body, and keep yourself ready and available. So when God sends you that person, then you'll feel like you're prepared for it. And to my young men, learn all you can about marriage. Do what you can to learn about the ladies and to find out what is best in a marriage situation. Learn to walk close to God yourself, to depend on God for that which you have need of, so that when you have a wife and we have children, then you will already have that established in the home, that you know to go to God first, and that you would take your wife and your family to God. So prepare yourself. Learn more about the things that you are hoping to gain in your answered prayer. I want to travel to Africa. So the last 2 years, I've been learning about Africa, everything I can learn about it. I read about it. The kids tell me about it. I learn about the language, the culture, the dress, the background of some different things that are going on now, why it's happening. So what about you? Do you want to pursue a certain job, a certain field? Well, until God opens the door for it, learn, read all you can about it. There's a poem that I wanted to share with you, and some of this is taken from Keep Believing, this book I told you about before. I have all these markers in these places that I like to read about it. And I just dropped my place here that I was going to read. So maybe God doesn't want me to read about it after all. It was a poem. Oh, here it is. I asked God for strength that I might achieve. I was made weak that I might learn humbly to obey. So my prayer is not answered because maybe he wants me to wait. I asked for health that I might do great things. I was given infirmity that I might do better things. Because once you've gone through a trial with sickness, heartache, and injury, I had an injury and it was an awful long healing process for me. But now, looking back, I see how God used that to help me to encourage others that are also going through that. So I asked for riches that I might be happy. I was given poverty that I might be wise. I asked for power that I might have the praise of men. I was given weakness that I might feel the need of God. So when we don't have a prayer answered like we want it to be, we realize that we really don't have things in control like we think we do, and we are totally dependent on God. I was given weakness that I might feel the need of God. I asked for all things that I might enjoy life. I was given life that I might enjoy all things. I got nothing I asked for, but everything that I hoped for. Almost despite myself, my unspoken prayers were answered. I am among men most richly blessed. So God sees ahead. He sees the things that we really want in our hearts and lives, and he is able to keep us from getting things prematurely that really aren't best for us. Paul in 2 Corinthians 12:8, for this thing I besought the Lord thrice that it might depart from me. He had something that was really getting to him and he wanted to be rid of it. Have you been that way? Do you have a situation you really want to be rid of? But verse 9 says, and he said unto me, my grace, God said, is sufficient for thee, for my strength, the strength of God, the grace of God, is made perfect in weakness. So we have the weakness, he has the grace and the strength. My weakness calls me to depend on God for his strength. Most gladly, therefore, will I rather glory in my infirmities, that the power of Christ may rest upon me. So we know that when we get a job accomplished, it is not us. We don't want to take the glory, but we want to give God the glory. So sometimes those prayers are unanswered so that we will realize we didn't do it, but only God could have done it. So he is able to keep that which we have committed unto him, those things that we desire. So help me trust you, Lord, in spite of me getting those prayers I want answered, not getting them answered. In spite of me getting what we want, sometimes help me to trust you. Help me to remember that you know what is best. And there's a song that says, my thanks to him. When I am sad, he brings me hope and cheer. He gives me grace whene'er the way is rough. How could I ever thank him? For he knows what I need. He knows what's best for me. So I must give my thanks to him. So in the middle of waiting for your answered prayer, do these things that we have talked about today. Reach out to somebody, get out of your shell, get out of your selfishness, and try to help somebody else have their prayer answered by being there for them to encourage them through their trial. And to remember to thank the Lord. He said, in everything give thanks, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus concerning you. So as I'm waiting on my prayers that I want answered and you're waiting on yours, let's encourage one another. Keep going to his word and knowing that he can answer them, but it will be in his time. And sometimes he does answer them. They just aren't the answer that we wanted, but it's best for us. Have a good day.